On March 1st, I completed my goal of walking every single street in Longmont, Colorado. My wife recorded the final moments. I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. Let's take a step back. No, all the way back. That's perfect.
Hi, I'm Justin. I'm making this video because I want to share my experience walking around Longmont. Who knows, maybe someone else will be inspired to do the same or just get out and get more exercise in general. I'll cover a number of topics, but if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. In this video, I'll cover a few different topics. I'll put them up over here so you can see. First off, I'll go over some facts about how many streets and miles I walked in the city. I'll also talk a little bit about why I chose to walk around Longmont and what was my motivation. I'll give you some details about the apps that I used and how you can use those too. And then I'll explain some of the more memorable things that I witnessed or experienced walking around town. And lastly, I'll give you a taste of maybe what's next. So let's start with the facts. There's 1,088 streets in the city of Longmont. I started this effort on November 1st and I finished it on March 1st. I was really hoping to finish by the end of February. I came this close, but I didn't quite do it. I walked 97 days during that time at about an average of 6 miles per day of walking. That's a total of about 586 miles, I think, in total. Now, just to be clear, there's not 586 miles of streets in Longmont. There's a little bit less in total, but it's just you end up having to repeat sections. My mental algorithm wasn't perfect, so I would go out and do a section and have to backtrack to get to other streets and stuff. So it ended up being about 586 miles for me. So why did I walk all of Longmont? What was my motivation? And it's really quite simple. Walking is my main form of exercise anyway. It's where I get my thinking done, or a lot of it anyway. And I've been home since the beginning of the pandemic, and I was really getting into quite a rut, walking the same loop every evening after dinner. I figured, well, maybe I should walk some different neighborhoods for a change. And then I started to think, well, if I'm going to walk different neighborhoods, wouldn't it be fun if I walked all the neighborhoods and every street? And so that's what I did. Now, as to how I did it, it was really quite simple. I used two different apps. One is called Strava. It's very popular amongst runners and cyclists and maybe walkers too. It's free. You can record your exercise, your activity, and then get different metrics about it. And so those activities get saved on Strava. The other application is called CityStrides. That integrates with Strava. It receives the information about your activities, and it shows you what streets you've completed in a given city. So really, using CityStrides, it was the way for me to very easily see after each walk what streets I've progressed, which streets I've completed, which streets I haven't done yet. In some cases, I'd go do a neighborhood, thought I did all the streets, and go home and realize, oh man, I missed this court or this circle. I got to come back to it next time. As for memorable sections of walking the city, I first have to explain, I did a lot of the walking, really most of it, after dinner in the winter time. So it was really dark for most of it. Now, that had its upsides in that I was generally all by myself walking in these streets, and that was kind of nice to have the solitude. But I didn't maybe get the experience of walking around town that I might have if I did it all in the daylight. Now, that leads me to my first memorable thing, which is all the Christmas lights that we had this year. It was a big year for Christmas lights. People went big, and it was a lot of fun to go to a neighborhood I haven't been to before and see all the homes decked out with Christmas lights. Now, although I did most of my walking at night, not all of it was at night. On weekends, and occasionally I'd get out of work a little bit early and do a walk in the daylight. And one thing I really admire about walking around Longmont is all the classic cars and pickup trucks that you'd see in some neighborhoods. It was a lot of fun to see old muscle cars that I haven't seen, very frequently in a while. I really enjoyed them. I'll put some pictures up here, and hopefully you can get a taste of the kind of things I saw. One of the things I was really looking forward to seeing was all the art in public places. And of course I did. One of my favorites is the shock art where, artists decorate the electrical boxes, and I saw many of those. Unfortunately, walking at night, I didn't get maybe the full experience of seeing all the different artistic things, but maybe that will motivate me to do some more, another round of this in the daylight. As for what's next, I'm not quite sure. Probably more backpacking and hiking and less walking around Longmont, but you never know. As I mentioned before, I did a lot of the walking at night, and I sure would like to do it again in the daylight if I have the time. I don't know that I will, but it's an option. I'm curious if there's any folks watching this who are doing it or planning on doing it. Let me know.